Elena stood barefoot on the damp earth by the riverbank, the hem of her white cotton dress brushing against her ankles. At 18, she carried herself with a poise that was both fragile and unsettling. Her dark hair, loose and untamed, fell across her shoulders as though the wind itself had painted her in motion. She had always been drawn to the river at dusk, when the air grew cool, when shadows stretched long, when the world held its breath before nightfall. But tonight the silence was heavier, and she felt the distinct pull of unseen eyes on her. She turned slowly, scanning the tree line, but saw only shadows. Still, her skin prickled as though someone had whispered across it. She wasn't wrong. A figure lingered among the trees, cloaked in the shade of dusk. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a long coat that looked out of place in summer heat. He watched her with a patience that was both comforting and dangerous. His face was partly hidden beneath the brim of his hat, but his presence carried weight, like thunder waiting in the clouds. When he stepped forward, Elena's breath caught. "You shouldn't be here alone," he said, his voice deep, almost melodic. She tightened her grip on the small basket she carried, feigning calm. "And you shouldn't be watching strangers from the woods." A faint smile curved his lips. "Fair enough, but I wasn't watching a stranger." The words unsettled her, though she refused to show it. "Then who was I?" He leaned slightly closer, his gaze steady. "Someone I was meant to meet." Elena wanted to laugh it off, but something about his tone anchored her in place. It wasn't flirtation, it was certainty, as if fate itself had whispered her name into his ear. "Do I know you?" she asked, taking a cautious step back. "You will," he replied, "and soon." Before she could demand more, a sudden rush of wind tore through the trees, and in that breathless moment, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound of retreat, just silence. Elena stood frozen, the river murmuring beside her, her heart hammering a dangerous rhythm. That night, in the flickering glow of her bedroom candle, Elena unfolded a slip of parchment that had been slipped into her basket without her noticing. Her hands trembled as she read the words, written in an elegant, unfamiliar hand. "Elena, the answers you seek are waiting. Midnight, the old chapel by the cliffs." The candle's flame guttered, as though it reacted to the words. She pressed the note against her chest, her pulse racing. She should burn it, forget it, pretend none of this happened. But something stronger than fear whispered through her veins. Curiosity, laced with a strange, forbidden thrill. And so, Elena blew out the candle, the darkness folding around her like a cloak. The decision had already been made. The old road to the cliffs was barely more than a dirt trail, carved through dense forest. Elena's lantern swung with every step, spilling trembling circles of light on the path ahead. Every sound, the crunch of leaves beneath her feet, the hoot of an owl, the distant snap of a twig, seemed amplified in the darkness. Her heart pounded with the rhythm of her footsteps. Doubt crept in with every gust of wind, but something stronger pulled her forward. The promise of answers, the haunting memory of the stranger's voice. She kept her grip tight on the lantern, whispering to herself, "It's just an old chapel, nothing more." But she didn't believe her own words. The chapel appeared at last, rising from the cliffs like a skeleton of stone. Its spire leaned precariously, eaten away by time, and ivy crept along cracked walls. A broken wooden door swayed on rusty hinges, groaning as if it carried the memory of countless secrets. She hesitated at the threshold, her lantern casting a golden halo across the cold stone floor. Inside, shadows clung to the corners like living things. Broken pews lay scattered, and moonlight streamed through the shattered stained glass windows, painting fragments of color across the walls. And there, at the altar, stood the stranger. He was no longer cloaked in the shadows of the forest. Moonlight revealed the sharp lines of his face, pale and almost beautiful in a way that was unsettling. His dark eyes fixed at her as if he had expected her hesitation, her fear. "You came," he said softly. His voice words carried weight beyond her choice. "I shouldn't have," Adrian replied, her voice unsteady. "Who are you?" He stepped closer, each movement deliberate. "My name is Adrian, and, whether you believe it or not, Elena, your life has been tied to mine long before tonight." Her brows furrowed. "That makes no sense." "It will," he said, his eyes glinting. "Your family have kept secrets from you, dangerous secrets." Adrian reached into his coat and pulled out a small silver pendant, its surface etched with intricate patterns. As he held it toward her, the pendant caught the moonlight, and something strange happened. Elena felt a sharp heat bloom across her skin. She gasped and pulled back her sleeve. There, faint but unmistakable, was the same symbol burned into her arm as if it had been waiting to awaken. Her lantern nearly slipped from her grasp. "What is this?" Adrian's voice deepened, heavy with meaning. "It is the mark of the chosen, and you, Elena, are not as ordinary as you've been led to believe."
Before she could demand answers, the wind howled through the chapel with violent force. The broken door slammed shut. The moonlight dimmed, and the once empty shadows began to writhe. Figures emerged, cloaked shapes with hollow eyes that glowed faintly red. Their movements were jagged, unnatural, as if they were stitched together from nightmare itself. Adrian's jaw tightened. He stepped in front of Elena, shielding her. "They found us sooner than I expected." Her blood ran cold. "What are they?" "Hunters," he said, his voice grim, "and they're here for you." The nearest figure let out a sound, half hiss, half scream, and lunged forward. Elena's lantern shattered against the stone floor, plunging the chapel into near darkness. And in that darkness, her story truly began. The chapel roared alive with chaos. Cloaked figures lunged from the shadows, their claw-like hands reaching for Elena. She stumbled backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. Adrian moved with inhuman speed. His coat whipped through the air as he pulled a blade from within it, silver and gleaming, a weapon far too elegant to belong to a simple wanderer. With swift, deliberate strikes, he cut down the first of the creatures. Its scream tore through the air like shattering glass before it crumbled into ash. Elena froze, torn between terror and awe. "Stay behind me," Adrian commanded. But the hunters didn't come for him, their glowing eyes fixed on her, their movements unnervingly coordinated, as though they were drawn to her pulse. One figure darted past Adrian and seized Elena's wrist. Its touch was icy, its grip iron. Pain seared through her arm where the mark burned brightest. She cried out, falling to her knees. Adrian's blade slashed, severing the creature's grip, but not before Elena felt something stir inside her. A surge of heat, wild and uncontainable, rushing through her veins. Her vision blurred. For a heartbeat, she thought she saw herself reflected in the hunter's hollow eyes, her silhouette crowned in fire, her skin etched with glowing veins. Adrian's voice pierced the haze. "Fight it, Elena. You're not ready yet. What's happening to me?" she screamed. The hunters circled them. Adrian's breathing grew heavier, his strikes slower. His blade faltered against their numbers until one caught his shoulder, dragging him to the floor. Elena rushed forward, instinct taking over. She raised her hands without knowing why. The mark on her arm flared, and a burst of invisible force exploded outward. The hunter shrieked as they were thrown against the stone walls, crumbling like shattered dolls. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. Elena collapsed, trembling, her chest heaving. Adrian staggered to his feet, clutching his bleeding shoulder. His eyes locked on her, not with fear, but reverence. "You've wakened," he whispered. She shook her head violently. No, I don't understand. What am I?" "You are what they fear, and what I have been sworn to protect. Your bloodline was bound to mine centuries ago. You are not prey, Elena. You are the weapon." Before Elena could respond, the chapel doors burst open. Another figure entered, this one human, or so it seemed. A woman draped in scarlet, her beauty sharp and cruel. Her eyes glittered with recognition as they landed on Elena. "My dear child, did he not tell you everything?" Elena's breath caught. The woman's face was achingly familiar. She had seen it before, framed in faded portraits, hidden in her family's attic. Her voice trembled. "Mother?" The woman's smile widened. "Oh, they told you I was dead? How clever of them!" Adrian's expression hardened. "Elena, don't listen. She's not what she seems." Her mother's gaze cut through him. "And you are? Did you tell her the truth, Adrian, that the mark binds her life to yours? That her power is useless without your blood to complete it?" Elena staggered back, her world spinning. The chapel crackled with tension. Adrian's blade was still slick with blood, his body trembling but unyielding. Her mother's scarlet robes shimmered in the moonlight, her outstretched hand beckoning Elena closer. "You can join me," her mother said, her voice honeyed. "Together we can burn this world to ash. You were born for it." Adrian's voice cut in, urgent and raw. "Or you can fight it. With me. Choose." Her heart thundered. Two paths stretched before her, the stranger who claimed her destiny, or the mother who had abandoned her yet promised power. Elena closed her eyes, her pulse thrumming with fire. She opened them again, and for the first time she did not feel fear. Whichever choice she made, she knew one truth. Her life was no longer her own, and the night had only just begun.